In today's session, I'm going to be answering the questions that came in as a result of that road mapping session, which don't worry, if you haven't seen it yet, you can head back to my Facebook page and watch the replay there. But in the meantime, I want to answer your questions that you wrote in as a response to that training and make sure that you're really set up for success to make sure that 2018 is the year that you had hoped and dreamed that it would be. Now, the first thing that I want to remind everyone of is that our 2018 is already happening. That's right, business works in 90-day cycles, and what we're doing today is absolutely setting the tone, the pace, and the results that we're going to get next year. So today is a day to be taking action right away on every single thing that we talk about and that you learn, because you are literally making or breaking your Q1 as we speak. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. For all of my entrepreneurs and business owners that regularly tune in, I'm going to ask you to do me a huge solid and share this out with your newsfeed so that other entrepreneurs and business owners that want to learn how to accelerate growth and achieve more clients faster in their business can also tune into today's session. So I would so appreciate if you would go ahead and share that and comment in the chat to let me know that you did so. I appreciate you guys so much. So let's get down to business. In last week's session, the road mapping session, we had really broken down the fact that you need to work backwards from where you want to be from a revenue standpoint, what your average price point per client is, and then determine how many new clients you need to acquire in the coming year in order to achieve your goals. Now, what I really like about going through this process is it's a reminder that you want to make sure that you're always working on defining and determining how can you get to your revenue goals with the least amount of new customers possible. And so today is going to be a combination of looking at a variety of different things in order to do that. But first and foremost, before you dive into your new client acquisition strategy, make sure, if you haven't done so yet, that you map out and execute your annual price increase. One of the most important things that's going to set you up for success in your business year over year to be able to grow and actually take home profit is making sure that you have a well executed pricing strategy, which means those prices should be going up each and every year, because we know your cost of doing business is going to go up every year. So as you go to do this, if you feel like your customer number that you need to acquire to hit your goals is way too high, my advice to you is to start by looking at what price increase do you need to execute in order to be successful achieving your goals. So step one is it time for a price increase? Have you done one yet this fall? If not, that is your very first step so that you can drive the number of customers that you actually need to get to your goals down. Now, after you've put a price increase in place and you feel like you're at the price point that you should be going into the new year and you've covered your costs of doing business, the next thing that, of course, you always want to look at are those basic essentials in place that are just core principles that have traditionally always been a part of growing any type of business. Hey, Matt, good morning. And for anyone listening and watching, comment in the chat and say hello. And hey, Matt, if you could share this out, I would so appreciate it. And same with anybody else that's tuning in this morning. So you put your price increase in place, and then you want to go through, just like I walked you guys through in the other exercise that we did, you want to go through and you want to look at all of your client sources. And one of the things that I challenged you to do in our last session was to go through all of your new clients from this past year and to tag them and to sort them and rank them by source so that you know, where did my clients come from this year and what is the order in which those sources rank in importance. Where did I have the most success? Where did I have the least success? Okay. Good morning, Shannon. How are you? And guys, feel free to type any and all questions in the chat as you go here. Okay. So you're going to rank the sources of clients that you had coming in. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to do that. And a healthy, well-run business, guys, is going to have lots and lots of different client sources. And if that's not the case for you coming into this year, that should be one of your number one goals of the year. And I say that because a diversified business is a healthy business, right? You don't want to be a business that relies exclusively on generating your customers from one thing or another, because when things change or shift, in that realm of existence, whether it's advertising or referrals or whatever the case, when things shift, then you can be up a creek without a paddle because you don't have control, right? So one of the big goals you want to have coming into the year, guys, is that you really have a lot of different client sources. And if that's not the case right now, then that's one of the things to actually be planning for and strategizing around now to set yourself up for next year. Okay, now I'm going to be covering a decent amount today, and so if there's anyone watching that isn't on my email list already, all you have to do is text in IGNITE to 44222, because if you text that in, when I send out the replay of this to my email list, I'm going to give you a cheat sheet that is going to walk you through the whole step-by-step guide of what I'm talking you through today. So all you have to do is text in IGNITE to 44222 to get access to that, okay? So you do your price increase. You go through all of your client sources from last year. You look at how many sources you have. You determine whether you have enough great, strong sources of new clients to focus on simply expanding and accelerating the results that you're getting in those, or whether you actually need to work on generating new client generation sources for the new year, okay? So for us, we had about 16 new client sources for this year, and we settled on 8 that we are really focused in on for this year. 8 sources that we are focused on taking action on every single day and really working at strategically all 12 months of the year in order to hit our client acquisition goal for the year. And I suggest that you look at something between maybe 5 and 10 for your business, depending on the size and scope of what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so there's a couple essentials that should be on every business owner or leader's plan in terms of the way that you're going to generate clients for the new year. Okay, number one, every well-run business should have referrals as a main source of new business. Okay, if you don't currently have referrals as a consistent way that you're generating clients in your business, then that simply means that you haven't understood in your market, in your business, what it takes to get people to refer. Whether it's upping the customer service, whether it's doing better, more effective gifting, whether it's asking in a new or different way, whether it's making sure that it's something that's top of mind for your team every single day. So it could look different depending on the type of business that you're in and the type of product or service that you sell, but referrals are one of the age-old strategies that should be consistently producing new clients in your business. And like I said, it could come down to consistency, frequency, effectiveness, how you're asking, what you're asking, how you're gifting, what you're gifting, and how big of a focus you're placing on it. For most people, just simply putting a consistent emphasis and focus on it each and every week in your business is going to yield substantial growth in that category, okay? Next, reactivations. So reactivations are customers that have paid you money in the past, liked working with you, bought from you before, and aren't buying from you currently. And you should be able to achieve a pretty substantial percentage of your growth each and every year through reactivations. So I want you to write that down. That's another one. You have to look at consistency, frequency, and effectiveness and ask yourself, what are we doing to re-engage the past customers that have bought from us before or are not buying from us now? And what can we do better and more effectively, more frequently, more consistently, with more power and impact each week next year to make sure that we're actually able to grow that category? And if you look at these things just in these 2 categories alone, let's say this year you got 3 referrals that you closed. Well, if you double each category of new clients that you had coming in next year, obviously your business is going to grow without spending a substantial amount of money or killing yourself in the process. Literally, in most instances, guys, it's going to come down more than anything to consistency. Okay, so feel free to ask me any and all questions that you have. Type in the chat, share this out, comment, ask me what you need. I'm here to support you. I want to make sure you guys are getting what you need this morning, okay? So we talked about referrals. We talked about reactivations, okay? Those are 2 essentials that need to be in place for every business. your email list. We have talked on so many of these Facebook Lives about the importance of not only having a goal to grow your email list each and every week, but making sure that you're working really hard to nurture those leads, to move those leads forward. And for any online marketer, you want to make sure that you're mapping out your seasons and your promotions and launches. So I would say for every month of the year, you should have both a good solid 2 to 3 weeks of content that is intended to nurture your audience and build trust, build relationship, and really move people forward in the buying process. And then you should have an offer, right? So for all 12 months, you want to be thinking about what offer do you want to make to your list, and how can you take whatever number you closed from your email list last year and double it, triple it, quadruple it by being more effective at what you're sending out, the strategy behind it, the copy that you're writing, the offers that you're making, okay? So far we've covered 3, right? And you want to go through and really lay out for yourselves, okay, for each month, nurture, promotion. What does that look like? What am I promoting? What makes sense at this time of year? What am I going to say, and how am I going to say it in a way that's going to move people into that next step, right? So we talked about referrals, we talked about reactivations, we talked about your email list. I also really recommend that every business look in their own backyard at doing business with a handful of actual businesses in your local area. And for most people online, this is like a big stretch, and they're like, wow, I can't, I don't feel comfortable, or I can't work with a big company, or I don't know what to sell them. The buyers in companies are simply people just like the consumers that you sell to, business to consumer. And a little secret for you guys, it's actually easier to sell business to business than it is business to consumer for a lot of reasons. But one of them being is that people aren't spending their own money. They're spending a company's money, and they don't have to pull out money from their own savings account, from their own family in order to buy from you. So really think long and hard about that, and ask yourself, do you have a list of maybe 20 companies in your own backyard that you'd like to do business with, that you're going to put something in front of each and every week and move forward in the buying process? And what you want to keep in mind there as well is that, those companies on average are going to spend about 20 times what the average consumer would. And so that's another reason why you want to really make sure you're focused on at least a handful of those local businesses, because they are going to be the big buyers that spend a lot of money. And when you close just a handful of them, it's going to make a substantial difference in your business. Okay, so we talked about local organizations. I also want to make sure that you're really looking at your actual sales strategy for follow-up on warm leads. And this should be a category in and of itself. Most businesses up until a couple years ago knew that outside sales was the heartbeat of any successful business. And, they would never think of not having an outside salesperson, or not having someone every single day making phone calls to warm leads to follow up on moving them forward in the process. But somehow along the way in the internet space, that was lost. And we've lost that focus on the direct connection with our market, those direct conversations that are going to immediately convert into cash. And so you want to make sure that as a part of your client acquisition strategy for next year, that whether it's you for yourself, or you for your team, or for your company, for every person that you have that is in a profit producing role in your company, that you have a set metric that they are following for number of phone calls, number of voice-to-voice connections, and number of either consultations over the phone or in-person meetings that are taking place, whether over the phone or in person. Okay, so having those actual structured meetings that are taking place every single week with qualified prospects, that's always going to be the fastest, easiest way to close. And again, it is the basic premise on which businesses have been built. You get a lead, you follow up with a lead, you schedule an appointment with a lead, you close the lead, right? And so if you follow that very basic principle, going back to reactivations and referrals, scheduling weekly meetings and having a target for how many of those are taking place, that's going to be a complete game changer in your business. It sounds so incredibly simple, but the truth of the matter is that most people are not executing it, right? The vast majority of small businesses are not making calls on a daily basis to warm leads that they have. And because of that, they're really struggling. They're really struggling to close customers. So if you're one of the select handful of individuals that actually make that a core part of your strategy going into next year, you're going to have a lot easier time achieving your goals. So having a set structure for follow-up on warm leads. And hey, everybody has them, whether you think that you do or not. It's the person that contacted you on social media to ask a question. It's the person that responded to your email. Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Having incentives like Cyber Monday deals. Yeah, having incentives that are going out to your list and reaching out to people and saying, hey, did you know, we're doing XYZ. By the way, for us today, we're doing the rollback sale, right? So this is your last chance to get 2017 pricing on either the Unstoppable Entrepreneur or private coaching, which we only have 2 spots left for next year. So, if you're interested in that, we'll post the links in the comment section here. But yeah, absolutely. Having incentives that your customers can cling on to, having a reason to buy now, right? But making sure that there's a set number of appointments happening in your business each week with prospects is something that will always serve you well until the end of time, and it's never going to change. I think one of the biggest stressors for online entrepreneurs today is that the climate is changing so fast, strategies are changing, platforms are changing, it's really hard to keep up. But the truth of the matter is there's a lot of things that are staying the same. And the same basic principles of having a set number of scheduled meetings each week over the phone, via video, or in person. Focusing on referrals, focusing on reactivations, and focusing on upsells of your customers, those are 4 core strategies that when executed well can really drive massive growth in just about any business. And the truth is most businesses are not executing those basic essentials. They're going to like level 3, level 4, level 5 instead, and they're working way harder than they need to be to get to the very same place. So we talked about your email list. We talked about the promotions throughout the year and having them scheduled out and mapped out and making sure that each month you have a specific promotion that you're focused on that you're going to hit the list with a couple times. We talked about reactivations. We talked about referrals. We talked about local businesses, right? We talked about making sure that you have a set number of appointments each week. We talked about reactivations. Now I want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has gotten such a bad name because it's slow and because it's not as sexy and exciting and fun as maybe some of the other hot social media platforms out there today. But the truth is about LinkedIn that it is one of the most powerful tools available to you today as a salesperson, whether you're the CEO of your company or you're managing a sales team. Okay, so if you are not spending at least an hour a day on LinkedIn or having someone do this for you, you are missing out on substantial growth in your business. The caliber of person that's on LinkedIn that's actually spending time there is significantly higher than most of the other platforms out there. It's a much better cultivated lead. It is a much better established lead, and you can look to see information about their career, their level, their position, their title, their company, their team. There's so much data available there. By basically spending time each day, requesting new connections, following up, doing messaging campaigns with the connections that you already have, and then moving people from online to offline from LinkedIn, you can create substantial growth in your business. We grew more this year from LinkedIn than most small businesses grew total altogether. That's how big the opportunity is on LinkedIn. And that was with having just one of our team members focus on the platform. Next year, we're having 4 of our team members spend 2 hours a day on LinkedIn, moving leads forward and into consultations, because it is that powerful of a tool, and we believe that much in the results that we've gotten this year, and even more so what's possible for next year. So that should give you a little bit of an indicator of where we're at. Obviously, Facebook advertising is still one of the best opportunities out there today. We're always running Facebook ads. If you guys are here on our page, I'm sure you see them. But that is one of about 16 strategies that we use. And I just want to emphasize again and again that you don't want to get trapped into a one-dimensional plan for acquiring clients, and you don't want to have to be trapped into spending $50,000 to do it. If you notice, most of the strategies that I talked to you about today cost nothing. Yes, email list building is probably going to cost you something, but besides that, most of what we're talking about here is a very low to no investment. It's more so time and strategy and thought than it is actual dollars and cents investment. So we probably talked about 6 or 7 so far, things that should be in your client acquisition strategy. And as I mentioned already, I'm going to send out a recap of this video along with kind of a cheat sheet that walks you through each of the different strategies and some things that you can be doing to actually be effective with that strategy. And I'm going to peel the curtain back a little bit on what we're doing with each of these things, with our top 8 that we're really focused in on for this year. So if you want to get access to that, you can text in IGNITE to 44222, and you can get access to all of the strategies we're using and kind of what that roadmap looks like for us, as well as a recap of some of the key points from us from our conversation here today. So again, you can text in IGNITE to 44222 to get access to that. So we talked about local businesses. We talked about having a set number of consults each week. We talked about referrals. We talked about reactivations. We talked about LinkedIn. We talked about your email list and the promotions going out to your list. And I want to talk about advertising free strategy sessions. Advertising your free strategy sessions is just about one of the best, easiest ways to close and grow business. And everyone that has any type of product or service that is an investment above, a couple $100 to close absolutely should be focused on driving free strategy sessions. And you can name it differently and you can position it differently depending upon the business that you're in. It might be assessment, it might be a walkthrough, it could be any type of title that you use to frame it up. But use your newsletter, use your Facebook and your social media platforms, use messaging campaigns on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. Use every tool and every opportunity and outlet that you have to get people applying for free strategy sessions. And in fact, for any of you guys that are watching today that are like, hey, I need help growing my business, I love all the things you're talking about here today, but I don't know where to get started, you can apply for a free strategy session to work with me by going to kellyroachstrategy.com. And that link is up in the description of today's video as well. That's kellyroachstrategy.com, and you can apply for a free conversation there to learn how you can work with me. So use every asset and every opportunity that you have to advertise your free strategy sessions. Your pop-up on your website, landing pages, Facebook ads, your email newsletter, conversations that you have. Think about these things, guys, because driving these free conversations, those direct connections, they're going to be your best converting tool in your business. Now, we talked so far about kind of the one-to-one strategies that you can use, and now I just want to spend 2 minutes talking about the one-to-many. So podcasting, webinars, and live streaming. These are still some of the most powerful strategies that you can ever possibly tap into to rapidly grow your business. But the thing is, guys, is that you have to be consistent, you have to be persistent, and you have to really put thought and strategy into these things to make them successful. These are 3 of our other major focus areas in the business. They're on our core list for 2018, and they're things that we're going to be working at every single day to make sure that we're always working on setting up the next webinar, setting up the next sales live stream, and setting up the next growth spurt that we have in the podcast in order to make it successful. But the thing is, you have to think about the pre, the live, and then the post of each of these things in order to make them successful. So what is the next step you're asking people to take? What is the copy before and after that you're using, not only to get people to show up, but then to get them to take action afterwards, right? And then how are you making sure that you have enough people there to actually convert and have results and success? So I wanted to make sure I laid out, a good solid 10 different things that you could be doing this year to get to your new client goal. And I want to help help you see that there can be small actions that you take in about 10 different areas each week that can help you create massive multi-six-figure, even $1 million growth in your business. It doesn't have to break the bank, but you gotta use your head. You gotta really be persistent and consistent all 12 months of the year. And you have to actually take time before the year starts to really dig into each and every one of these things and lay out how exactly are you going to make these things happen. You got to go really deep and get really specific if you want to see big results in your business. So here's a couple follow-up action items that I have for you guys. Number one, if you're not on the email list already, text in IGNITE to 44222 so that you can get the recap of this video and the cheat sheet that goes with it. That's number one. Number two, if you're not already working with me to expand and grow your business in 2018 and you want help taking everything we talked about today and getting massive results and growth in your business, I want you to go to kellyroachstrategy.com and apply for a free conversation with me to determine if we might be a fit to learn together. And then number three, I want you to take everything that you learned in the video today and do one thing to actually take action, because information without implementation doesn't help anybody. I want to make sure that the first thing that you do when you wrap up from watching this today is go take action. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, I want to remind you to dream big, take action, and don't stop until you make it happen. Thanks so much.